All right, welcome in to this week's Dirty Pocket. And man, do we got a lot to talk about. I am Stacy Ballin, co-hosted with my partner in crime, the Scout, Daniel Kelly, writer for Sports Illustrated Lions, Sports Illustrated Jets, and all sorts of other assorted media fun. How are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. I'm actually a very well-known rapper now on Twitter. I've gotten platinum, over 100,000 views on my one of my latest rap songs. So I'm doing it all out there. I'm entertaining everybody. People are having a good time, receiving thousands of notifications. Kind of talking Jets and Lions and Tigers and Bears. And matter of fact, I was just on a podcast speaking of that last night, talking Bears football, talking about Justin Fields.
Wow.
Who I actually believe is going to be the quarterback to take the biggest leap of the 2021 draft class coming up. I'm a big Justin Fields fan. He was my QB1 coming out of the Ohio State in 2021. And there's a lot to like out there in Chicago. So, yeah, I've been busy. I mean, just today alone, I thought about this, right, Stacey? Just today alone, to give our listeners some perspective here, this is my second podcast. I did another rap song. I did a 2-minute drill, which is something new I started on Twitter, talking about different issues around the league for 2-minute video clips. And I wrote an article for tomorrow's for the Lions. So I mean, it's been 5 things in one day. Plus I had a hamburger. Plus I had a little chicken. Plus I got myself a beverage for tonight's our show. I mean, yeah, I'm wired for sound tonight.
My God, man, I would think by now you'd be burnt out on talking about NFL football, but look at you.
No,
that's a full day.
It really is. You know, it's funny because on that podcast I was on with 3 other gentlemen last night talking Bears football. You know, I said, they said, hey, come back anytime. You're great. And I said, listen, this is what my wife Samantha loves. I said, she wants me to have more people to talk about football with, because I'm like, honey, Samantha, I'm like, what are the Jets going to do with George Fant and Mekhi Becton both coming off? She's like, stop. I'm like, they both came off knee surgeries. They don't have any depth. She's like, stop. We got to stop. So, I mean, I never get burnt out talking about football. I started when I was about 8 years old, and now I'm 48. And 40 years straight of talking football, just about, and I'm not burnt out at all. In fact, it just, I feel like I could go a few more hours tonight. Matter of fact, I'm after the show, I'm going to start putting together another 2-minute drill script for about the 49ers and how they're in serious mismanaged disarray out there. I mean, there's all these ideas, and I got another idea to do another show about Kyler Murray. It's just the ideas. My mind works faster than I can type and produce content.
Well, there you go, folks. Okay, well, no energy drink needed. In the interest of tradition, before we get launched into talking a couple of NFL headlines and then most especially Detroit Lions over the next 45 minutes or so, what is our drink of choice this week? Mine is nothing new. Zevia root beer.
We have got to liven up your life out there. Every week you're just coming plain Jane with us at the Zevia. That's Now I especially, this is almost, I mean, our show is like a highlight of the week for me, right? I actually go to the store and get a beverage just for you for the sake of our listening audience.
I don't do that.
That's what I did tonight. You can ask Samantha. I mean, we went into CVS after she got off work, and I got a beverage. Now, this might conjure up memories of Mean Joe Green in the tunnel with that kid when he gave him his jersey.
I know what's coming.
I think so. But no, it's a little bit different. It's the 2022 version of Mean Joe Green's favorite drink.
Wow. Okay. All right. Oh, it's the vanilla Coke. All right. Coke and a smile, man. Coke and a smile.
Absolutely. Now I got to do my little intro, right? Like my little Arsenio Hall intro,
boy.
right?
Yeah, you're really into this now.
Here we go, right? Here we go. I mean, I can't just be entertaining in my music videos. I got to try to be entertaining on here too, right? Okay, so, right, here we go. Okay. When the Detroit Lions backup quarterbacks are playing kind of vanilla, reach for a Coke that's vanilla flavored. At your local grocery store.
What?
Check local listings. This message furnished by the National Football League.
And there you have it, folks.
Woo!
Oh boy. Okay, so
Now I can take a drink finally because I announced it.
very nice. Our very loyal MTO is in the house. Shout out to him. He's
Ooh.
already spouting off. But before we get started,
What's
because
up, MTO?
we're gonna launch right into football and keep this to 45 minutes this week. And we really want to get into Detroit Lions talk because there's a lot.
Treats for later.
And he's got a snack. You're giving these people free sponsorship on the Dirty Pocket. I mean, they need to earn that right. But we're really big.
We are.
Okay, so before we get into some comments, MTO's got some coming in, and we start talking Detroit Lions. Scout Kelly, what say you? Colin Kaepernick gets a tryout with the Las Vegas Raiders. It's been, 6 years since this man played football? Before we get into the Lions, in brevity, give me what your thoughts are here on Colin Kaepernick's possibly being added to that Raiders roster. Is this just a PR stunt? Do you think he could really make the team and back up Derek Carr somewhere on that depth chart?
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Absolutely. In fact, this is something that I read tonight that the Raiders owner, Mark Davis, has been advocating for 2 years. And when it takes you 2 years to get something done as an owner, you got to move mountains to get this stuff done. But here's what I talked about on my Twitter tonight. If you go look at it at Daniel Kelly Book, I'm gonna read right off my Twitter account for us, okay? As someone who worked on Hall of Fame coach Bill Parcells' staff with the Jets, I wholeheartedly endorse the Raiders signing Colin Kaepernick, and I would sign Kaepernick myself on a team if I was a GM. I love it. I love the move.
Wow.
I think he can come in there and play very well. I believe he deserves another chance to come into the league. I'd be very excited to see him play. I think he fits that Raiders persona perfectly. And I think, a team we're going to talk about, the Detroit Lions. I think the Lions should have tried to sign Kaepernick a long time ago. We'll get more into that tonight with the show. Behind Jared Goff, you got, it's really nobody. Tim Boyle and David Blah behind him as a backup. We'll get more into it, like I said, I promise. But, Kaepernick, that's a very interesting move, and I hope it works out for him.
Yeah, it's interesting. My only skepticism, and then we're going to get into all Lions talk for you Lions fans. I'll tell you, it's interesting that Josh McDaniels, the guy who pulls him in his first year as a head coach. I also feel like the Raiders had so many ridiculous distractions last year, some of them tragic, that it's kind of a curious move.
Interestingly enough, okay, is that if you remember, it was Josh McDaniel who took a shot on Tim Tebow too. And so he will go outside of the box, and I think it's a very interesting move. And like I said, I hope it works out for him.
Okay, good stuff. As you can see, MTO agrees. He thinks Cap will dominate the locker room. He also says, hey, look, lose Mariota. That's one of my guys from Oregon. And replace him with Cap, maybe get a comp pick. So some really interesting stuff.
Good point, MTO.
There, good points all the way around. Okay, interesting. Probably top headline today out of the NFL, but we aren't about top headlines. Tonight, we are about the Lions Den, the Detroit Lions, a team that is close to your heart. You cover them for Sports Illustrated. No secret here. They're kind of a team close to my heart. I root for them. Don't care what anybody thinks. I'm a Jared Goff guy. And he grew up real close to my hometown. His dad actually grew up in my hometown, went to my high school. So I am a Goff guy, and I think that he can do an amazing thing this year. So let's talk Detroit Lions, post-2022 NFL draft. I'm going to give you the opportunity to say where you want to start. You want to talk a little bit about the draft and then move into the quarterback analysis and work our way through the roster. Let's talk 2022 draft. 2021 draft was a bit of a controversy with the scout, as he was not big on Penei Sewell. I thought he ended up having a great year. I thought he really panned out. We thought he might kick inside to guard, stays at tackle, becomes a bit of an enforcer too, as he doesn't take a lot of crap. He even tried to get into it with Aaron Donald, which shows he's very unstable. World champion Aaron Donald, that is. We'll get into the offensive line, Penei Sewell, but let's start with the draft. What say you on this Lions draft? I thought they had an incredible draft as soon as the Jaguars went full Jacksonville Jaguars and picked Trayvon Walker. They jumped up for the Michigan kid, Aidan Hutchinson, and then come back and get Jamison Williams. Wow. How much did the Lions improve, man?
Yeah, though that's the most dynamic first round the Detroit Lions have probably, maybe ever had. Dating back to when they got Barry Sanders in 1989. The running back, the superstar. This has been many years since they've been had a first round like this. I'm a huge fan of both Aidan Hutchinson and also Jamison Williams. Both those guys, I had Williams rated, a little bit higher. He slid down to my wide receiver 3 spot. He was my wide receiver 2, but then he had the knee injury, so he slid beneath Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, and of course Garrett Wilson, number 1 MTO's JETS guy out there from the Ohio State. But the Aidan Hutchinson picks, I'll start there really quickly, unpack that. This guy's like a modern day Jared Allen. He's a relentless force off the edge. He's a guy that's just like a machine. He keeps coming and coming and coming and coming. He'll test the left side, right side, left side, right side. He'll keep flipping back and forth like he did at Michigan. And what he'll do is he does a really good job of setting up offensive tackles. What do I mean? Okay, he's able to he'll test the outside and then he'll test the inside B gap, and then he'll start outside, come back inside, start inside. I mean, he'll just keep flip-flopping and testing and unpredictable, and then he'll stunt and go inside, and he just keeps coming until he finds a way into the dirty pocket, until he finds a way to get to that quarterback and get into his face. That's what he does very, very well. I mean, he's going to give them a pass rush that they haven't seen in a long time, if ever. I mean, he's that good. I mean, this guy is a almost like a carbon copy of Nick Bosa in my mind. He's going to be a really good force for the Detroit Lions. And then you flip over to the offensive side of the ball where Jamison Williams, I mean, this is a true speedster. This is a wide receiver who can legitimately take the top off of defense and take it deep, and he can get deep. And that's something the Lions have not had for the last, in recent memory. I think he's the best, for a speedster. Obviously, we got Megatron in that conversation, and there's others too in the past, that jump into my mind, Herman Moore, different people way in the distant past. But I mean, this is the best speedster wide receiver Detroit's had in the 40 years I've been watching the game. And it just changes the complexion of an offense when you can have a receiver like this, because Detroit was so limited last year, taking a legitimately a slot receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown, trying to make him into their number 1 receiver. It did not pan out. The Detroit Lions did not have a legitimate deep game whatsoever last year. 2 of their top 4 receivers was a running back and a tight end. They were a dink and dunk team that couldn't go vertical, and defenses responded by suffocating the Detroit Lions offense and just clamping down underneath in the intermediate and short levels, and just made it that much harder for Detroit to move the ball. But not anymore. Now Detroit's got Jamison Williams out there, the receiver speedster I'm talking about from Alabama. Hopefully the knee's right. I imagine Detroit's medical staff checked it out, and it did check out for Brad Holmes, the GM there, and Dan Campbell, the head coach. But, I saw a tweet today that was on the field actually during the OTAs. So, I mean, this is a really good sign that he's looking good already. And, that's going to really open things up for everybody else on that offense, because he's going to clear things up. And my final thought on this with Jamison Williams, Stacey, is he's going to clear things out when he goes vertical and he goes deep. He's going to command the respect of a corner and a safety over the top to help, which is going to open things up for everybody else, the other receivers, the tight ends, the running backs underneath. It's just going to make everything flow. It's actually going to sound like a symphony this year, not just like somebody banging on a tin can.
Yeah, no, I think, Jay, I honestly think outside of the Jets, which we covered last week, that the Lions just came out of this draft with a lot more talent.
Yeah.
Which isn't saying much. Let's be honest. They didn't have a lot of talent, but to be able to pick up 2, 3, 4 and some solid players is unbelievable. Let's move from the draft picks without going too deep into all of their picks. Those were the top two. Those were the game changers for them.
Restoring the roar, as they say.
Yeah, restoring the roar. Let's move right into the pocket on offense, the quarterback position. As stated, I like Jared Goff. I think you get pieces around him.
Why? Why do you like Jared Goff?
I think that he's a solid quarterback.
Where's he come from?
Well, he comes from Cal. You're talking about the Cal Bears.
But where did he go after that?
Well, he is a former member of the world champion Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, jeez.
And I want to add that this young man got the Rams as a franchise back to the playoffs after many years of not being in the playoffs. That isn't all system, people. You still have to read a defense. You still have to throw the ball. You still have to get the team in and out of the huddle. You still have to make split-second decisions. Yes, the McVay offense was helpful. Have a snack at this point.
Your analysis right now is like a mix of sweet and salty.
It's
just like
sweet and salty. It's all sweet right now. It's all sweet.
Well, no, because it's mixing in with that Rams nonsense you always like to talk about. So it's a little salty too. You find a way of talking about. We could be talking about Dak Prescott on this show, and you'll find a way to sidewind the conversation into the Rams. Everything, all roads lead back to the. Oh.
World champions. Come on.
MTO, get him off this Rams kick.
He's got some comments. We're going to get to those position by position. One of them here in the quarterback arena. Look, Jared Goff got the Rams back to respectability, him and Todd Gurley. So I like him. I think if the Lions build around him, might I mention Brad Holmes, also a former member of the world champion Los Angeles Rams. As your GM, I think he does an amazing job. So what say you on Jared Goff? I know you are not big on the backup quarterbacks, as I don't think anyone would be. And apparently MTO watching on thinks so too, as he believes the Lions really should have went after a young quarterback somewhere in this draft. They didn't. CJ Stroud will not be there unless they're picking in the top one or two, would be my guess next year. But Jared Goff, 2022, with the weapons he has, how well can he do?
First, let me start with your comment there, MTO, and we'll get into what you're talking about there, Stacey. I agree with you. They did need a backup quarterback somewhere along the line. This is a very sore subject for me and a very sensitive subject because I am a huge Malik Willis fan. I love Malik Willis. As a matter of fact, I have his jersey coming from the NFL shop tomorrow, FedEx. And I have some. I'll wear it probably next week for next week's show.
That's real fandom right there, man.
Absolutely. I already know what he is. This guy is a baller, and I had him going actually number 2 overall to Detroit in the first round of my mocks for the Jets country articles, and that's how much I like him and love him, in fact. And I don't love many players. I mean, we can probably count 2 hands when I use the word love. Now, but they didn't do it. Okay. And then the Lions, they did their thing in the second and third round. Malik, for whatever reason, people have narratives and politics and all that good stuff, falls to the Tennessee Titans. They're thrilled with him in Tennessee so far. It's very possible the locker rooms are starting to take Malik Willis's side over Ryan Tannehill when Tannehill talked about how he didn't want to mentor him and all that. Okay, that's a different show. But the Lions desperately needed to address the quarterback position in this draft, and general manager Brad Holmes and head coach Dan Campbell failed to do so. And it's just, this is another one of these teams. They do so many things well, and then they leave themselves so incredibly vulnerable in what Hall of Fame head coach Joe Gibbs called the second most important position on your football team is your backup quarterback. Okay, this is a battle I got into with the Jets when I was there for the 4 years. I said, hey, after the 98 season, my first year in the league, we've got to go get a backup quarterback for Vinny Testaverde in case something happens to him. Well, sure enough, he got hurt opening day. The rest is history. Parcells was giving a speech and a poem about the man in the mirror, and he resigned at the end of the 99 season. They had to do something in Detroit. They had to get a backup quarterback in there. They failed to do so. And by doing that, Brad Holmes has left the organization exceptionally vulnerable heading into the season. Why do I say that? To your point, Stacey, Jared Goff is like a roller coaster, and a very scary one at that. This is his deal. Okay, he's up and down, up and down, up and down, and from one half to the next. I mean, look at the Green Bay game last year on Monday Night Football. First half, they're playing really well. They look like they're going to win the game. Second half, he's slipping and sliding and fumbling in the rain. Okay, that's a perfect example of what Jared Goff was for the Detroit Lions last season, and they lost that game. And oh, wow. I mean, God forbid something happens to Jared Goff. Their season is in the toilet. They're toast. They're done. You got Tim Boyle, okay, and David Blah, okay. These are, honestly, I'm going to say this on this show, okay. So turn up the volume, okay. It's all you listening in Detroit, where Eminem originated, my who I'm closing in on.
Boy.
As a matter of fact, I talked today about how I didn't want to put Mom's spaghetti in my sweater. But anyways,
we're going to talk about that. Go ahead.
but getting to Detroit where it all started, okay, it's just, I don't understand what they're doing there. I don't get that backup quarterback situation whatsoever, and they're done. I mean, they are done. If something happens to Goff, they are history, and all they've really done by doing this. And I said this pre-draft. I screamed it from the rooftops for months. I banged on this drum for months. I'm sure I said on this show too, that if the Detroit Lions do not get a quarterback high in this draft, they are basically setting the table for the next GM of this franchise. So yeah, they got Aidan Hutchinson and Jameson Williams, everything. Those will be an extremely attractive type of players in place.
Good pieces,
good pieces for the next GM, because to put all your chips on Jared Goff at this stage of his career is just. I don't remotely understand it. I think blows my mind. As an aspiring general manager, this makes absolutely positively zero sense to me.
The point isn't lost on me, to MTO's point here, that he doesn't scream Motor City. No, he's a California kid. Mm-hmm. His whole personality, everything like that. I do agree that they should have got a quarterback, because I'll be very honest, I was prior to the draft. I didn't see any of these quarterbacks as starters. I think they're all backups. I was not high on Malik Willis like you are. I think he's a heck of an athlete, but I think he's years away from being a quarterback in the NFL. That's just my take after watching limited film, some film. I do think that if you're the Detroit Lions, there's this guy, his name's Baker Mayfield. It might be on speed dial. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I get your point. Goff this is probably a prove-it year for Jared Goff, even with the Lions. There's no question. They've given him some weapons. They've given him a good offensive line. He's got a good couple of running backs. And this is it for the Lions. They need Jared Goff to play well. Not just well, but slightly above and better than well. It's interesting. MTO makes the comment that Kaepernick could have been a guy that was on their radar. I don't know about this. Is where we disagree.
I'm absolutely, and to your point, MTO, about the Malik Willis, they did have him at the Senior Bowl. They should have gotten him. Malik Willis would have been the most exciting player in Detroit since Barry Sanders had they got him. They didn't do it, and then now, absolutely, I'm telling you, this guy is going to. Malik Willis is going to make Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance look like they came off a gumball machine. I'm talking about this guy is going to be so far superior to those three quarterbacks in the National Football League. I mean, this guy's got 4.37 speed. He can hit the edge. He can move around. He's got a cannon for an arm. This guy, he can mentor Trey Lance. I mean, this guy is that good. But getting back to Detroit, so I don't get in the soapbox of Malik Willis, that's a different show. I'm extremely passionate about him, and I would have jumped on the table if I was in a war room for that guy. But here's it. And I don't talk like that about many people, because not many people are worth talking about like that. But you know what I'm saying? Exactly. Most of these guys are like watching paint dry in the NFL. But another option too for Detroit. I wrote an article a couple weeks ago about Taylor Heineke being a possible option. Washington has just shown him so much disrespect that's completely and utterly unwarranted. And they've gone out and gotten Carson Wentz. And now they've drafted a surefire bust in Sam Howell, who I can't stand from an evaluation standpoint. Oh, he's just
none of these quarterbacks did it for me. I was like,
well, I know what you're saying. But Yeah, but so maybe Taylor Heineke's available. But the thing with Jared Goff, and this is what blows my mind, how Detroit's decision makers and they couldn't understand this, especially Holmes. Okay, Holmes came from the Rams, and the whole thing with Jared Goff. When you watch Goff's last season, you know this. You watched the Rams, Stacy. It's the last season Goff was there. His confidence started to go downhill, downhill, downhill in the playoffs. He looked more unsure of himself, right? He looked more unsure of himself down the stretch into the playoffs, and he started to lose his confidence. Then he gets traded to the Lions. And there he is, okay? His confidence has been up and down. How anybody can possibly think that somehow magically this guy is going to all of a sudden go back to his old form from 4 or 5 years ago and be something different is the most illogical thing I've heard in 2022 of anybody that thinks he's going to get back to that level. And for Brad Holmes to bet on that, he is going to lose. Bookmark this, okay? Jared Goff is going to cost Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell their jobs this season. You will hear their names on Black Monday.
Yeah, okay. We'll bookmark that. This is where you and I might disagree. I think Brad Holmes is already showing he's a stud. I think Dan Campbell. I'm a Dan Campbell fan. Yeah, I know you did, and you cover him, so all respect to that. Right. I think Brad Holmes is building something here. I do think that they put all the pieces around him. So let's move past Goff to some of the pieces, including running back and wide receiver. And certainly the offensive line. We could just scattershot it in the interest of time. But look, Jared Goff's got to prove it. Looking at his numbers from last year, 3,200 plus yards, 19 touchdowns on 8 interceptions. Not horrible, pretty average. And, you're not going to win a lot of championships likely unless you have the 85 Bears defense or the 2000 Ravens to help you on that. And the Lions do not. So I think Jared Goff can win. I do accept your point that, is he going to go back to when he had Todd Gurley and Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods? And I think they're making a run at it. I think Brad Holmes is building that way. Let's talk about that at the skill position pieces. When you look at the Lions wide receivers, you commented on Jameson Williams. Now you're talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown. Don't forget that they brought in DJ Chark Jr. Of course, Jameson Williams, and then of course Josh Reynolds, who him and Goff have chemistry from their time when they were with the world champion Los Angeles Rams. You've got Quintus Cephas, Caleb Raymond. You've got kind of some interesting people. No one's thinking this is Jerry Rice and Randy Moss, but you're looking at that and you're thinking, okay, he's got some speed. He's got some pieces both inside and outside at wide receiver now. Reynolds has got length. Williams got the speed. Amon-Ra is proved he can play. Chark when his time in Jacksonville. And then you move into the backfield and you're looking at, I know you absolutely love Jamal Williams and feel he should start. DeAndre Swift is a change of pace back. Do you kind of see how Brad Holmes is building that offense much like the world champion Los Angeles Rams, his time there? You could see a lot of 11 personnel with the wide receiver room. And then, of course, you throw in a tight end. That guy's pretty good. Huh? TJ?
Oh, yeah. I'm a big TJ Hutchinson fan. Absolutely. Yeah. And I like Jamal Williams. And obviously Swift has his place in that offense too, along with all the pieces of the puzzle you talked about. I think that, it's almost like somebody goes out and do you like sub sandwiches?
Oh, of course. Who doesn't? I can't eat them. I get fat, but
I'm just asking because I do. I love sub sandwiches.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost like somebody goes out and buys the boar's head, the lunch meat and all that, all the good fixings and all the cheese and just all that and the special kind of sauce and
I know where this is going.
Right. It's just all these wonderful things and maybe some banana peppers and some pickles and whatever you're into. Obviously, everyone has a little bit different taste. And then you bring all these. I mean, you spend like $40-$50 to buy all these fixings, and then you basically go to the half off cart and you grab a loaf of bread, and you get home and you open up. This is on the fly, folks. Okay,
I knew where this was going from the second it started.
And I know you did. You know me. That's why. But the bread is kind of crusty and kind of old and kind of.
Oh boy.
And you got all these fixings, and it's kind of hard and stale, and a little bit of it's moldy on the end. You're just like, it's just, so that's how I kind of feel with the answer to your question, Stacey, about all the things that Holmes has done. If the Detroit Lions would have brought in Malik Willis, they would have won the NFC North this year. And that was going to be my prediction. I was going to go on a limb, and I was going to say that. Oh, absolutely. I was going to go.
A rookie quarterback from Liberty.
That's right. That's right. The 49ers fans out there, they think they can go to the Super Bowl with an FCS glorified high school quarterback, Trey Lance. So I mean, we've heard more outrageous things. But and spending 3 number ones to get a guy that's a scout team player of the week.
I'm not taking that bait.
We're not, I want to.
Yeah, I know. Another show.
I got thousands of fans out there that want to talk about Trey Lance. But that's just the Jared Goff thing just scares me. I mean, for Holmes, to your point, Stacey, he hasn't. I mean, this is what Bill Parcells, okay, Hall of Fame coach, you hired me, okay. This is what Bill Parcells said, okay. You are what your record says that you are. And, this is the deal is Jared Goff 3-13-1 last season. That was the record. And he didn't play in all the games, a couple games, the other backups played or whatnot. But that's the big concern here. And so, you surround a guy. It's almost like, them and the Jets, the 2 teams that I cover, they do so many things well, but then they basically leave. They set themselves up to fail at the same time. It's unbelievable.
Okay. All right. So some tough words from the scout on his Detroit Lions. I do think this is the year for Jared Goff. I think that as a quarterback, there's a lot more riches moving into next year's draft than there were. I thought this year's was abysmal. I wouldn't have touched any of them unless it was the 4th round as a backup. So point taken. Looking at the skill positions, I know you love that wide receiver room, the running backs. DeAndre Swift.
I don't love the receiver room. I don't love it.
Okay, might have been too strong.
It's okay. I like it. I don't love it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think it's slightly above solid. I think it's got potential. Maybe that's the word I'll put on there.
Yeah, Jameson Williams is the star of that room.
Yeah,
he's the star of the room. I mean, and there's nobody even near him in that category. So that's my take on that. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, if you throw anybody 500 passes, they're going to catch 90 of them. I mean, last year they threw him like 129 balls or something like that. He caught 90. They just threw it to him all the time, and that inflated the stats. I felt a little bit. I just, I kind of thought he was about a 4th round, projection or something. I've never been a huge fan of his. He did surprise and beat my expectations last year. I will also admit that. But outside of that, all the rest of that wide receivers room, for the most part, is just cast-offs. Trinity Benson was a cast-off. Khalif Raymond's a cast-off. All the rest of those guys in that room are cast-offs or low-round draft choices. That's something that Brad Holmes has prided himself in, is basically having a room full of wide receivers and defensive backs. So it's like the island of misfit toys. They're all low-round draft picks and players that nobody else wanted for the most part on both sides of the field. And in today's game, which is a pass-happy league, that's a recipe to get fired.
Okay, so let me ask you this. 2 questions, and then we may just move over to defense here in a minute. Because the offensive line is solid, right? I think we agree on that across the board. But couple of questions. If you were Brad Holmes and you needed to add something to this offense off the free agent market, does anybody come to mind that's available still? There is for me. I'd go out and do it right now if I was Brad Holmes.
Well, who is it?
I just wanted to see if you had anybody in mind.
No, who is it?
I'd go get Julio Jones right now. I'd go get him right now.
Yeah.
And I'd bring him in. And we all know he can't stay healthy anymore, but I'd bring him in, put him on the edge. I'd get him in the room with Jameson Williams, with the younger guys, and I would I'd try to recreate something dynamic at the 1 or the 2 at wide receiver. Julio Jones is still sitting out there. So AJ Green, but I think Julio. Yeah, OBJ is still technically out there as well, but I think Julio fits what Detroit may want to do. Second question on this part: how many guys do you rank above Hawkins league? I know I'm blind.
Yeah, no.
You think about the top.
Kelsey, obviously, George Kittle,
right?
Out there, that's about it. And it's
top five, right? Yeah,
he's top five. He's a really good wide receiver. I mean, and back to what I really want, I just he's up there. I mean, he's been the star of the team basically. I mean, that's what he's been.
Yeah. So it's kind of why I even asked that question is on this offense with DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, kind of a 1-2 punch in the running game, a solid offensive line across the front, if not one of the better offensive lines in the whole NFL. Just imagine if you added a Julio Jones to that, and again, you start looking at the weapons that Brad Holmes has given Jared Goff, and it's like, okay, Jared, okay. He's given you some really nice pieces for this offense. You get into a lot of 11 personnel and whatnot. You're looking at some good stuff.
Yeah, really quickly, just one last thought. And this is something, too, on the offense. You're touching on the tight end situation. There's TJ Hawkinson, and then there's nobody. Okay. I wrote about an article for tomorrow for All Lions about Johnny Mitchell, the tight end coming off the big torn ACL last year. They picked in the 5th round from Virginia Tech. He's probably a second or third rounder if he doesn't blow out his knee. He definitely looks the part. I remember Fred Baxter, the tight end that played for 12 years. That's who he reminds me of. He was with me with the Jets. That's who he reminds me of. But really, there's nobody that stepped up, behind Hawkinson. So what that does is I was really, the Malik Willis thing we talked that already. We talked that up. But the other thing that I wanted the Lions to do, and I wanted Brad Holmes to do, and we talked about this on a show, is that I wanted the Lions to pick up on a Colorado State that the tight end that the Arizona Cardinals took, Trey McBride, who I interviewed, and have pair him with Hawkinson, because what that would have done is it would have created a distinct game day advantage for the Detroit Lions. I mean, how are you going to cover that? How are you going to cover 2 TJ Hawkinsons? And that's really what McBride is like. But there again, Holmes, he didn't catch the vision, and McBride lasted. What was it, to what round did he go in? The second or third round or something? Second round. So he lasted to the second round. So the Lions could have got him in the second round and paired him with Hawkinson. But, there again, it's a lack of vision. And so they got Hawkinson. And now Hawkinson got hurt last year too. So if something happens to Hawkinson, then what? This is a thing I don't understand about Brad Holmes.
Yeah, no question that there's some depth challenges there. I could see, you're right, like in a 12 or 22 personnel with 2 tight ends, leaving a linebacker on the field on defense. That's pretty compelling. Not going to argue that. I like that idea.
That would have given
and then with the running advantage, a lot of screens with DeAndre Swift, and so interesting.
Here's another idea I put up for All Lions last week, as far as ways they can get utilize their backs better. If you go check it out on All Lions under my name, Daniel Kelly, it's an article I recently wrote, is have both of those backs on the field at the same time.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Have DeAndre Swift and have Jamal Williams on the field at the same time. You can flare them out into the flats. You can hand the ball off. But there again, you got to think outside the box. If you just keep going, the same traditional offense looks, the same defensive 4-3 and the same looks defensively, you're going to play right into the rest of the league's hands. You have to do some things that are creative. Look what Bill Parcells, okay, so supposedly Bill Parcells is Dan Campbell's mentor, right? Okay, well, let's look what Parcells did with Soprano down with the Miami Dolphins. They invented the Wildcat. They went for the worst team in the NFL. They made the playoffs, the greatest turnaround, I think, in NFL history when they went to the playoffs the following season. You got to do something different. That two tight end set or two backs, or it's just something different. You know, that's what the Lions need offensively.
No, I don't disagree. I think they need some creativity. I almost get the feeling they really are trying to copy the Rams in terms of offense, like they're trying to emulate their personnel group and all that. And I can see what they're thinking.
That's a problem.
It is a problem.
It's a problem because, like I talked about with my scouting mentor, who was an NFL front office for almost 35 years, we got into philosophical discussions about systems. And we all talk about systems, right? The West Coast, we talk about the run and shoot, the 46, the Wildcat. We talk about all these different systems, right? And he would tell me, he would say, listen, any system can win, okay? And I started thinking about that, and it's true. Any system can win as long as it's authentic to the man or the person, an individual, man or woman who's in charge of the organization, as long as it's their vision. That's why Bill Belichick has made a mockery of the rest of the NFL, because he has his system and everybody tries to copy him, or the rest of half the league tries to still copy Bill Walsh with the West Coast offense. How many disciples of Bill Walsh's came off that staff compared to the success ratio that Bill Walsh himself had? Why? Because it was Bill Walsh's system. It's Bill Belichick's system. It's authentic to them. They can communicate it to their players. It comes across as authentic. Basically, they buy in. That's the idea, okay? The players buy in and they go with it, okay? When you try copying another system, we want to become the Detroit Rams. It didn't work. It's not going to work any better than when the Detroit tried to become the Detroit Patriots when they had Matt Patricia in there and Bob Quinn. You have to be authentic to who you are. You cannot, and you are not the Rams. You are the Detroit Lions. That's the thing that bothers me about this thing. It's just like, Lions fans deserve better. They deserve somebody in there who can be authentic and bring their own system.
Oh, man, strong words from the scout. Really good analysis. Like that. Went past it and backed it up with great information.
I've stayed here for 3 years looking at Lions film. I feel like I'm entitled.
No, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I've earned my stripes. And that's the thing, is I want to see the Lions do well. That's the thing that blows me away about this thing. And people criticize me online. They say, "Oh, you're just so incredibly negative." Well, there isn't much to be positive about when you're 3-13-1. I mean, there's only so many ways you can spin something, and there's only so many silver linings to the cloud, or the bottle's half full or half empty. I mean, there's only so many ways to recreate the wheel. But that's what the Lions need. They need a spark. That's why I was so excited about them possibly getting Malik Willis, because watching that Lions offense in the last couple of years has been like watching paint dry.
I love it. Great analysis. MTO just shot me a comment that I was saving till the end because I had the same thought, and he's thinking like I am, but I'm going to save it to the end because I don't feel like we're doing the defenses justice. We didn't with the Jets. I wanted with the Lions because I feel like they made some pretty decent moves on the defensive side of the ball.
I see the Fitzpatrick comment there in the bottom of our screen.
Yeah, that's a doozy too. I mean, that was a lot of fun. I had to put that up there.
I saw a cute picture, a funny picture on Twitter. It was like 14, 15 guys walk around, and they all had a different team jersey on with Fitzpatrick on the back of it, all the teams he's played for.
That.
So the Lions, you can add a Lions jersey to that mix. I agree with you, MTO.
That might be a lot of fun. Okay, we got to flip to the other side of the ball. We're running out of time this week, and I want to talk about the defense. I feel like they're putting a little something together. I still see some pretty big holes on defense for the Detroit Lions, like that front line of Akwara, Aleem McNeil, Michael Brockers, formerly of the world champion Los Angeles Rams, and then the rookie who I think has a good chance to be rookie of the year on defense, Aidan Hutchinson. Love the linebacker group, kind of. Derek Barnes, really excited about him. Really interested to see Jared Davis return to the Detroit, what he can do in a second go around without Matt Patricia running the show. And there sits our guy, Alex Anzalone, at middle linebacker.
Got him.
So just talk for a couple minutes on the front seven with the addition of Aidan Hutchinson. What do you see there in Detroit? Have they vastly improved or just sort of? They filled a couple holes.
Well, exactly. Let me just talk about this for a second here. Let me really quickly give me a second here because I want to look at something.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't have a statistician. Remember that one guy that ran to the bathroom because he was on a podcast?
Yeah, I saw that. That was pure gold, and I love the authenticity. So while you look, NFL, we're just going to try to cover the defense in one big sweep because we're running out of time this week. But
there we go. I got it. Okay, my statistician came through, which is me. Okay,
the back four are interesting as well.
Okay, so this is what I was looking for so I could be specific. Okay, last season, 2021, the Detroit Lions, according to TeamRankings.com, rated number 31 in the league with 1.8 sacks per game. So when you ask me, Stacey, is it something where they became dramatically better? It's the same personnel with the addition of Aidan Hutchinson in there, right? And they're also moving Brockers to defensive tackle instead of putting him at end because they're going from a 3-4 back to a 4-3. Of course, a 3-4 being three down linemen, four linebackers versus a traditional 4-3, which is what Detroit's always played really in the past, right? So basically, let me just bring up their depth chart.
Yeah, I like what Aaron Glenn's doing. I think Aaron Glenn's got a bright future as defensive coordinator.
I agree with you.
Doing
Absolutely.
some fun stuff there.
I do too. So let me go through the rest of this front seven for us real quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Romeo Okwara, right, coming off the big injury last year, always been a solid pass rusher in the past. Will he be this season? To be determined. Ali McNeil, I like him. I like him a lot. I've written articles about him. Brockers, I'm not sold on. Hutchinson, I love. The backups, there's a couple guys I like there. Julian Okwara gets some heat on the quarterback at times. John Pizzini does too. I like him as a defensive tackle. Talking about the linebackers for a second, I like Barnes. I do. I liked him a lot as a rookie too, and even coming out of college. Anzalone is a joke at middle linebacker. I think he's probably the worst middle linebacker I've seen in the NFL. I can't remember even a worse middle linebacker. I mean, the guy gets
rough to watch.
The guy gets thrown around like a rag doll, dude. I mean, all you see is that blonde hair going everywhere. And then, a matter of fact, I wrote an article last week for All Lions that I think that Malcolm Rodriguez has a very good chance of beating out Alizoni for that middle linebacker spot. I think he's a lot better, a lot more instinctual. He can run better. He can blitz better. I just think that's going to work itself out in camp. I think he'll start Rodriguez, the draft pick they had this year. I think it was in the 6th round. Jared Davis, that's a wash for me. So, I mean, looking at that front seven, it all kind of starts up front, as we know. And, the reality is this, okay, they were 31st, as I talked about, in the NFL last year, averaging 1.8 sacks per game. In this NFL that we play, and this isn't our grandpa's NFL anymore with, Lombardi with three yards in a cloud of dust or whatever they called it. This is a pass-happy league. And if you can't get to the quarterback, good luck to you, pal. And that's the problem with the Lions. So, I mean, the front seven is just,
they're just kind of okay, right?
And the free agency was awful. What Detroit did in free agency, all they did was go about and re-sign all the same guys that were 13-1 last year. They didn't do anything in free agency to bring in anybody that could upgrade that front seven.
Do you think there's any chance, because he is still hanging around out there free as a bird, could Ndamukong Suh make a reappearance in the blue?
Possible.
I think that would be very interesting for that defense.
Possible. Yeah, it would be interesting.
But I'm not big on him. I want to state right away.
Right.
Yeah,
very possible. I mean, you got to pull in all the stops. And this was another grave disappointment I had last year of Brad Holmes. When OBJ was available, everybody's like, "Oh, forget him." Bob, who needs that problem?
I just don't think he would have gone.
But
I don't think he would have went to Detroit.
But here's the thing: if I was a GM, he would have gone. Okay, because I would have claimed him. That's the league rules. It wasn't like some kind of a trade or let's talk about. He was on the waiver wire, and Detroit had a claiming order in that, and Brad Holmes let him slide by there. And then, of course, we watch OBJ go off to the Super Bowl with your team. I mean, obviously that was 1,000% right on my account, and those are the type of moves that this needs to make that they're not making. making. So bringing into Dominic Sue would make perfect sense for a team like this. But I highly doubt they'll do it. They just don't have that kind of.
It's one of those make sense years to me for that. Bring in the Dominic Sue to shore up the running game, although I think he gives effort when he feels like it. I'm going to be blunt about it. I watch him as a Ram and as a Buccaneer now.
Absolutely.
And that's where I bring up Julio Jones too. Maybe bring in a couple of vets, superstars, former superstars, maybe in the twilight of their career, to bring them in, kind of shore up the team a little bit. This feels like a transition year in Detroit to me. But real quickly, looking at the defense,
they've been in transition since 1992.
I think they'll be better. I think they just won't. They still won't be where they need to be. Obviously, the defensive backs. Can Jeff Okudah rebound? Is he going to be anything that we thought he would be coming out of Ohio State? Can he be a shutdown corner?
Keep that comment up about Tracy Walker too, if we could, please. I want to touch.
No, let's talk DBs for we got about 2 minutes.
Right. So talking about Jeff Okudah, this is a tough one, Stacy, because I was a big Jeff Okudah fan coming out, of college, and obviously his rookie season, didn't live up to standards. And then he tore his Achilles. That's a really tough one to come back from for a corner. A cornerback is like being like dancing in a nightclub. I mean, you got to be able to move and twist and turn and everything very quickly with those and to match those wide receivers and pushing off that back foot. I wrote an article for All Lions talking about how Okudah would make really good sense, and he has all the raw characteristics to move him back to safety, like MTO. We're back in his range there at safety, and pair him with Tracy Walker back there. That's what I would do to give him some more time to heal, or he can just push and drive downhill, and he can utilize that range and speed he has and that ball hawking ability that he showed coming out of college. I think that'd make a lot more sense for him than playing corner. I just think they're putting too much pressure on that Achilles if they try to get him to play dance fever out there with wide receivers.
Boy, I don't know. I'm skeptical. I like Jeff Okudah. I hope so, but I'm skeptical. Real quick, you saw Fio's comments rather on Tracy Walker, but before we leave there, the other side, the other corner, I thought a guy that balled out when he was healthy last year was Jerry Jacobs. I think you were a little more critical of him, if my memory serves, but might have come around. He seemed like a guy that was always around the ball after Okudah went out and he was forced into play, into action. I think he could be the other side.
He gave the Minnesota Vikings the game up there. That was the thing we talked about last year when he just basically just played off coverage and just let Adam Thielen catch a couple of balls across the middle, put them in the field goal range. I thought you might as well just got up in the stands and had a hot dog and a Coke. I mean, it was awful. It was some of the
vanilla Coke.
It was some of the worst pass coverage I've seen in 40 years, and it was just awful. But yeah, he played a little bit better as the season went on. They got Bobby Price there, defensive back. This is all from memory. They got the guy I like, who actually was one of the guys I was right about for an undrafted free agent who made the team, was AJ Parker. I think he's got some aggression to him and stuff too. But the guy we've got to hit on here really quickly, who I think was the most improved player in the Detroit Lions in 2021, was cornerback Amani Oruwariye. I thought he had a sensational year, 5th-round draft pick out of Penn State. I mean, he looked like, you remember those tops we had as kids, those things you spin on the ground and it make it go around and around? He was like a top back there. He was like a chicken with his head cut off in defensive back in 2020. And then Aaron Glenn, touching on him really quickly, you're right, as far as, this guy is an up-and-coming head coaching candidate in the National Football League. I really like him. I was with the Jets with him when he was a defensive back for Bill Parcells and was there with Bill Belichick. I really like Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn basically took that existing hodgepodge of low-round picks and free agents and moved the meter with that group and improved them, I think, up to number 23 as far as the defensive backfield is concerned in the league. And a lot of that had to do with how he coached and taught Amani Oruwariye to keep the game in front of him, and also to be a little bit more aggressive at times in certain plays, to use his hands more, fill the routes more, fill the receivers more. Felt he did a really good job of that. So Amani Oruwariye, I think, had an exceptional season for the Detroit Lions. I mean, now he's been almost into the upper echelon of cornerbacks discussion now in the league, and he's become the Lions' number one corner.
Yeah, very nice. Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
So that's kind of rapid fire on the defense, but I want to leave a couple minutes because that's all we got left, Scout, for a question that I was planning to tee up for you, but MTO has teed it up eloquently.
Oh, Nelly, let me tell you about Keith Jackson.
A lot of fun to consider the 2022 Detroit Lions, and I just want to go on record to say I'm rooting for them. But hey, we got to talk about this with
Absolutely.
like the 3
Me
minutes
too.
we have left.
Uh-oh.
Here we go, folks. HBO is in the house in Detroit, and there is bound to be some fun around HBO Hard Knocks with the Detroit Lions. What say you, Scout Kelly? Maybe give us a quick perspective in 2 minutes on how you think this will impact the team, and just what's it like for a front office and a locker room and a team to have camera crews walking around. What does that do to a football team, man?
Well, it can be one of two things. It can be a lot of fun, or it can be a huge distraction. It depends how you look at it. You know, it's again one of those things. Is the vanilla Coke half empty or half full? Well, this one's actually a little bit less than half full. But I mean, yeah, I am chugging that down. I like vanilla Coke. But anyways, you know, here's my perspective on it. Okay. In 2017, when Browns owner Jimmy Haslam wrote to me and asked me for my ideas on what I thought the team should do, and it turned into be a 166-page GM proposal I sent out to him for the Cleveland Browns job. One of my ideas was to have the Browns go on Hard Knocks that year. I personally love Hard Knocks. I personally love the whole idea of it. I think it'll give the Lions some much needed publicity. I also think it will hold them accountable. I think it will raise their competition level in camp because they've got all the cameras around everything. I think the stars will shine a little bit brighter and the lights will be a little bit brighter, and it's going to bring the best out of everybody around there. So I think it can really be a good thing for them. It can be a huge distraction for a great football team. That's why you never see the Patriots in Hard Knocks or something like that. But for a team that's up and coming, hopefully like the Detroit Lions, I think it can really be can serve to be a good thing as long as it doesn't turn into be a meltdown like it did for the Browns when Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley and all those guys got into it, and Jarvis Landry was in a fist fight during practice and stuff that would just create drama.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I think it's going to be very fun to follow that team around because it's really kind of an important year in Detroit. To your points, for Brad Holmes, for Dan Campbell, they've had a couple of years now building the team they want. They passed on some players you liked. I think we're going to have some fun stuff with HBO. I'm pretty sure this time Jared Goff will know where the sun sets. He didn't when he was a Ram. You remember those famous Hard Knocks when he was in Rams gear. So it'll be interesting to watch what happens with HBO. I completely agree, MTO. I think that was a great point. I was saving it up till the end.
That was awesome. MTO with the he goes yard on us, man, with the moonshot. He hits a home run with that last comment.
Absolutely love it. So we have got to wrap up because this host has to run, but it has been a fantastic look at the Detroit Lions. I'm rooting for them. I know in some ways you are too. You got to stay unbiased as Sports Illustrated. So parting shots this week, Scout Kelly, what say you for parting shots this week out of the Dirty Pocket?
Don't be surprised if Aaron Glenn's not the head coach of the Detroit Lions by season's end.
Ooh, Dan Campbell showing the exit door early. Really? Okay.
Does that count as a parting shot?
That's a parting shot. That's a prediction. It's immortalized forever digitally. My parting shot is it's a lot of fun to watch the Detroit Lions. They're the team that I watch in the morning out here on the West Coast. One of the reasons I watch them is because they're filled with ex-members of the world champion Los Angeles Rams, from Josh Reynolds, Michael Brockers, Jared Goff. I am rooting for these guys. I hope they do wonderful things. And
Me too.
An unprecedented move, Scout, and this will likely lead to cutting us off. MTO has a parting shot.
Whoa.
I've been saving it to the end. You got 30 seconds to answer this parting shot.
Yeah, I know they were begging for more Trey Lance reps. I actually put one up today. You know, you can see that one out there. I mean, I put one out there today. You know, these raps, they take a little time. You know, it takes a little time to come up with that rhyme. You know what I'm saying? It's
All right.
I mean, I make noise just like a wind chime. I mean, I'm a poet. I just don't know it. I can do it on the fly, but now it's time to say goodbye.
Oh, there you go. Great way to end it. MTO, thanks for joining us this week on the Dirty Pocket as we grow this thing. Detroit Lions fans, if you see this on YouTube or you saw this on Twitch, give us your comments. Talk to us on Twitter. Want to hear what you think the Detroit Lions are going to do in 2022. Like, subscribe, follow us. Thank you, folks, from myself and the Scout. We will see you next week from the Dirty Pocket. Thanks again.
Take care. Have a great week. Thanks for watching.